Good day, everybody. Welcome to the Gray Matters, where we come together to discuss more than just the hot topics and headlines of the day from the black man's perspective. We appreciate that we are not all a monolith and every subject deserves to be explored with nuance, giving a view from all sides of the culture. So we're here to hopefully bring that to you every week with a little bit of nuance, class, fun, and our panel consists of three guys that are absolutely nothing alike, and you'll soon come to find out if you don't already just how much we love each other in spite of our sometimes very big differences. I'm Billy Craig, joining you from the great state of Delaware. And today I'm joined, as usual, by my brothers from another mother, Damian Hall, out near the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville, and my partner, Teddy Riley, joining us from
Yep.
Portland. Yep. There you go. How you doing today? Yes.
Old
Yes.
jam.
There we go. How we doing today?
Man, I'm good. I'm definitely good.
Solid, chilling.
All right, let's get it.
Hot than a mug out here, boy.
Listen, it feel like
somebody
whole
brought
world
Florida
is on
to
fire.
Portland.
Somebody needs to apologize because Mother Nature is like, I thought I heard somebody say it was hot.
95 hit different in Portland than it do in Florida, just so y'all know.
Imagine Arizona, because I think I saw over the past 2 weeks.
It's Arizona been 300 degrees forever.
Yeah, they said, no, they said it's been over 110 for almost 2 weeks or something like that.
You know what? You're right. The other night they said they had a low of 97 overnight. I was like, oh Lord.
I just know if my AC
that's the beauty of living in the desert.
My HVAC go out, though, I'm fighting everybody.
No, I ain't fighting nobody.
You know what? It's a lot of people in Portland who don't have central air because they didn't need it until like 2 summers ago.
Fun story. When I lived in Nashville, when I was at TSU, I worked at CarMax, and it was so funny because when I sold cars at CarMax, that we had like 2 or 3 different cars that came in, and none of them, they all got shipped. CarMax will ship cars from other parts of the country. We had some came from Minnesota, Montana, stuff like that. They didn't have air conditioning. We practically gave those cars away because nobody wanted them. Guy came in and said, I don't care nothing about air conditioning. Well, we were in Nashville though, and he was like, I don't care anything about air conditioning. How much? Man, that joint was normally 10 grand. It was like, listen, 5,500, you can have it. You paid cash.
Right.
But he hot right now.
Right.
He baking right now.
Hot tub hot. Car. It is hot tub hot.
Absolutely.
Well, let's go and get this cracking. So we often go to funerals. I know it's gonna sound morbid, but this is where we start and we'll work our way back. We go to funerals. And one of the common themes is that you're supposed to give these people their flowers while they're still alive. And don't save all the flowers for my dead. I can't enjoy them at that point. I want my flowers while I'm still living. And so one of the things that got me to thinking, and Rev kind of introduced this topic to me, was, do we have an issue with giving people their flowers while they're still alive? Like, as Black people, we're not talking about it in general. We're talking about literally as Black people, as a culture. Why is it? I guess I'm gonna ask a rhetorical question because I know the answer. That it is us, and why do we have a problem giving people their flowers while they're still alive? I love a good quotable. From the urban philosopher, Sean Carter. Once again, first they love you, then they hate you, then they love you.
Then they love you again.
And but we seem to tear down people. Like it's a weird dynamic where like we start off and it's like, hey, y'all got this little podcast, that's cool, that's really cool. Then once it blows up, they're like, oh man, we so proud of you, this is great. Then it takes it to a next level and it's like, y'all need to do all that, y'all done changed. And then it turns into a level of hatred. Like, and we see this often. Like we saw with Jay-Z, we saw with Kanye West, we saw with all the different people, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant. Like, we've seen it historically throughout time that Black people love you to a certain point, And then after that, it turns off into, what you didn't do. You ain't give everything you made back to the community or anything like that. Happens a lot with churches. So, a pastor, we want churches to grow. Then the church grows, and then
he getting too big.
He getting too big. Yeah, this ain't for Jesus no more. This is it's like
we need to humble him.
So part of the question, and I'm gonna read directly from the screen here, is that why is it so hard for us as a culture to give people their flowers? Is it because we have a skewed and tortured view of success, or are we incapable of congratulating people without making it personal? And I know that's a lot to unpack, but we're just going to take it a section at a time. I want to start off with Paul on this one, because Paul is in a unique position of such as myself, where we both dealt largely in the music industry. And there's a grind that has to happen in order for an ounce of success. Yes. And then, people say you changed and all, like there's the cutting the people off and all these different things that have to happen in order for you to maintain a level of sanity. Yeah. He was on the same word of sanity to continue on. So what do you think it is, man? Like, why is it that we're so reluctant to give people their flowers?
I think people, when they see somebody they know, that especially if they view them as less than or equal to themselves, when someone has some sort of success, it causes them to have some sort of inward torture because they know they didn't do what they were supposed to do to be where they want to be. So maybe your success is a trigger that makes them insecure. That's just a guess on my part. But that's a more sophisticated way of thinking about it. On a surface level, I just think that people are haters. I mean, at the end of the day, like on the whole, Black folks are haters, bro. Like, let's be honest. Like, we got to say that we hate on each other hard. We don't like to see each other win at nothing. It's always a divide and conquer. We all can't eat. We all can't get rich. We all can't be on top. It can only be one guy or one lady, right? If we look at rap, right? Like there's only one rapper that's good at a time. Comedy, only one comedian. And that's not white folks' fault. We do it too. We subscribe to it too. Like look at Biggie and Tupac. They should both be alive. They didn't kill each other.
Right.
They didn't.
Say that.
They didn't.
Say that.
Them two dudes did not shoot each other. Some dudes that was around them shot them.
And even further, the beef didn't even originate with them. It was people in their ear that actually
exactly.
Right.
Exactly. The Who Shot Ya song wasn't about Tupac.
Exactly.
It was about LL.
Of all people.
LL came back with, I shot you. Like, it's simple.
Yeah.
But you get these journalists and these people who do things like this guy, the academics dude, or the Vlad dude, and we just sit there and tear each other down. You got people like the King Von dude riding around looking for niggas to kill. Are you serious? Like, what are we doing? You got guys like Chris Brown singing and dancing, performing arts cat, like Tupac, get famous. Now he want to be a gangbanger and a thug. Since when did the talented 10th people decide that they want to go be street cats? When did that become hot? Like our whole thinking, our whole mentality is backwards. We don't want to be rich by inventing something that helps everybody. We want to sell dope and kill people and get rich that way. That's like, look at Tubi. Look at all our movies. We either hooping or we slanging, or we running the ball, or we rapping. That's it. We ain't going to space. We ain't scientists. We ain't doctors. What are we doing? Like, we do this to ourselves. if you can read, you talking white. You know, if you understand the English language and how to use it, you talking white. If you know how to maneuver in certain rooms, you acting white. Like it's our whole culture is counterculture, and it's to a fault. That's what I believe is our problem.
I'll jump in there. There's a guy, professor and psychologist, guy at Wake Forest, um, down in North Carolina. His name is Gregory Parks, and I don't know a whole lot about him, but he wrote a very interesting book, and the book was titled "Haters." And he talked, and he's talking about Greek letter organizations, and that kind of spun off into a broader conversation about um, basically the irrational negative feelings that people have about people in other groups and people who aren't exactly like them. And he was talking in particular about black culture. That's why that's how it got from the Greek letter organizations into just talking about the culture in general. But he was just talking about how it all relates to kind of haters. It kind of all relates to jealousy, envy, negative attitudes, stigmas around certain things that are just a matter of, difference. Like I always literally every week I state this: we are not a monolith, right? But yet we approach everything like you're weird if you're different. And one of the things that was significant, and I haven't read the book, but I only um, read some of the excerpts around it and picked up some of the key chapters. But one of the biggest focuses that he makes in the book is that being a hater is not benign. It is not a harmless crime. Like it's not a victimless
Mhm.
crime, so to speak. When
Mm-mm.
you're a hater and you're tearing someone down, that is where a lot of the I'm unwilling to give flowers are. And it's something that I often talk about whenever I work with people, especially doing coaching, um, whether it's business coaching, health coaching, spiritual coaching, whatever, is self-image preoccupation. And you stated this, Paul, a few minutes ago, where a lot of times we can't give other people our flowers because we're too concerned about, well, what about me? So it's
Mhm.
almost like if Andre does well, then I got to start looking at myself like, well, what does this say about me? Actually, it may say nothing about you.
Nothing at
Like
all.
it probably has nothing to do with you. But because we have such an obsession with essentially measuring ourselves against other people, we can't just be happy for other people or
Right.
congratulate other people. It's like you did not fail to achieve everything you wanted in life because you took the silver medal. You just ran into a person who was literally a millisecond faster than you. That that is not a reason to hate that person or to come for that person or be
Or
frankly
they cheated,
unwilling to
or they worship the devil, or they in the
something.
Illuminati, or
Illuminati.
God, right.
oh my
God got
god,
involved, all this stuff. The moon was off. No,
bro.
the fact is, you can't just give the person their flower. Be willing, like even if you don't like a person. That's one of the things, and it's interesting because you brought up the hatred thing. There are people who years ago, I used to feel compelled to try to understand and reason with it and show compassion just for my own peace. I do not spend time other than what is absolutely necessary. I don't spend time with people who can't, I guess, rid themselves, you might say, of the inability to give somebody their props. Like if
Right.
you can't, like just because we're in a, let's say, a similar field or a competing field, that in no way means that I can't acknowledge that you're good at something. It's like I preach on Sundays and I have a whole ministry. Well, there are plenty of other preachers out there who, I can recommend them. I can even admit that they're better at certain things and certain aspects. And that because not only is it frowned upon in that vocation to be competitive in that way, But I mean, think about it. There are whole shows surrounding things where you're supposed to be helping people, and yet you're competing. What do you mean, preachers of whatever city, Detroit or New York or whatever? Why would you even compete against somebody? There's literally countless people that need something. Why are you trying to measure yourself against somebody else? I have a different skill set. I have a different set of tools. Appreciate them, congratulate them, give that to them. And I just don't have room for it. I don't have room for people that can't do that.
Well, you also got to remember the concept about dick riding, right? The truth ain't dick riding. Saying Michael Jordan or Magic Johnson or LeBron or
Right.
Kobe or Kareem is the greatest ain't dick riding. It's the truth.
Yeah, it kind of like there's a very finite number of people in
Dick
that
riding
conversation.
is lying to somebody and telling them
Yeah.
what they're not.
So the interesting portion, I don't know why, like this has just been my theme, is just looking back at like
Say in life.
the total
Right.
picture. Like you go to church, and this is what I say about my theme. Like we'll just start with the church, and it's like we
Once again,
have
I
been
feel attacked, people.
Well, no, this ain't directed at you. This is directed at the church people. Like we are directing people, like in your messages. I know we've heard other people say or ministers say, shout for other people's blessings.
Absolutely. Right.
So that's why I said I'm not attacking you on this one. There's been a message, shout on other people's blessings. Yours is coming, and all of this. And it's like, so when we inside those four walls, we shout, "Oh, this person got blessed. They done paid they house. Amen. They done played a hallelujah. And all this." But as soon as you leave church, and we say, "Well, LeBron, is the greatest basketball player ever." I mean, he all right, man. He cool. Like he opened up a school. Well, it's not technically his school. Is the like and
I mean, but it's the truth though.
But
It's
we
not
figure out
technically
ways.
his school.
But why do we figure out ways to tear people down? Even if it's he in any facet, regardless of black person
That's
that
a
reaches
good
a certain
LeBron
level,
is a good
we
study.
look for a reason to discredit the things that they have done.
Well,
It
here's
doesn't
the
matter.
He's a good study because his fans use everything they can to discredit everything that came before him
But
Now-
to
why is that-
validate him. That's why he's a good study in what we're
it's
talking about.
interesting because from both extremes, if you will, you're right, Paul. He is a great study because here's the thing that we haven't really touched on it yet, but I'll just introduce this. I don't have to like everything in everybody or every aspect of your life to be able to accept the fact that you actually great. You mentioned him, not in this regard, but like I've met LL Cool J twice. I don't have anything against him. I don't, he's not my favorite rapper of all time. That has zero to do with the fact that man deserves his flowers. He is on the Mount Rushmore. I don't care what criteria you have. If you're talking hip hop entertainment, if you're talking about an actual artist who, like, he grabs a microphone and he rhymes, he deserves to be on the short list of any list that you have.
Yes.
He's not even in my he's not even in my like top 10. He's not even in my top 10. I'm saying when I'm going through Amazon or I'm going through Spotify and I'm looking for
one
people,
of my top 10 favorites. He's in my top 10 all time though.
He got to be. And I'll say the same thing.
Yeah.
Going back to like basketball, for example, Michael Jordan has never been one of my favorite players. What kind of idiot do I sound like saying Michael Jordan is not easily, if not the greatest, he's got to be in anybody's short list. We're talking top 2 or 3. Like you sound like an absolute
even
dummy.
if we extend it to top 5. This is where I'm saying with LeBron.
Right.
Even if we say, okay, he's still
I
one
just
of the
call it a
5,
10, just a conversation.
Yeah, just a conversation. Right.
One of the even if we say extend it out to 10 greatest 10 greatest people to ever do this one thing.
Right.
And we still people find room to either get offended or have to defend things because of that. It's like Do you know how many people have ever picked up a basketball in life? And
Yeah.
this man ends up being one of the 10 best to ever dribble a ball. Like,
do you know
that's
how
not
much
a failure.
heat I take because I say he's not number 1, but he's like top 10?
And people act
And I'm a
seriously.
hater.
And people be like, oh, if here's the thing that's funny about that. If I defend Paul on that, people are like, I thought you liked LeBron. I'm like, I do.
Right.
But I also was alive for Michael
Right.
Jordan and Magic Johnson. I happened to see Kareem at the end.
All of these people
Like
are
Kobe,
in the top
Dr.
zero.
J.
Like come on, bro.
0.01% of the people who have ever done this. Like,
He's in the conversation. He's just not at the top for me.
And here's the
That's
thing.
it.
And one of the things I often say is two things can be true at the same time.
Mhm.
I can believe that you're not number 1 overall, and I can still give you your flowers
There you
for
go.
being great. Like
There
I
you
tell
go.
people, the comparison I often use for people is back in high school, I was not as fast as Andre Collins in the 100. I certainly was not slow. Like I was the fastest man in my school, right? Like when we got to the championships, hey, I had to line up right next to him. Like, okay, lane number 4, lane number 5. Like, but it just because you're not that doesn't mean that I have to somehow subtract. I don't have to take anything away from Andre. It was like, yeah, but look at this form, right? Look at the way he comes out the blocks,
Right.
And that's what, and unfortunately, that's what we do, because that goes back to that self-image preoccupation where it's like, well, if I'm not this or he's this, then what does that say about me? And unfortunately, I feel like, and this kind of goes to where I wouldn't take it, which is I feel like there's not enough people who are. I think you mentioned this about like rapping and basketball, and we talk about this a lot. Where it's like, if you're not an athlete or an entertainer, Black people kind of feel like, what are you? Well, I
Yep.
happen to be the most successful attorney to come out of Hamilton County in the past 50 years. Yeah, but remember back when we was playing football, you was on the bench. Like, we do stuff like that because we don't value the fact that everybody has something. You don't have to, we don't have to take away from somebody else. You have something of your own. Be okay with that.
but here's the weird dynamic. Since I know we talk in sports and all that, but in other areas, but like, to boil it down though, like, why do we kind of wait for people to fail? Is because and I know it sounds
inevitable.
Well, no,
it's coming, right?
But
It's how we want to see how you handle it.
No, I don't think. I think
Nah.
we celebrate failure. Like, I know you don't. But I'm talking about as a larger group. Like, I know.
Hey, Andre, we'll wait until Joe Burrow throws a couple of interceptions. We'll see how that works out.
Wow, here we go. This is the LeBron. This is the LeBron effect.
No, so
that's exactly my point.
Right.
People can't be objective.
You get upset when I say Joe Burrow ain't the coldest. I say Joe Burrow nice. He just ain't the coldest. And now I'm a hater.
Exactly the point.
But like, we did it with Carl Lewis. We did it with Sha'Carri Richardson. We did we'll allow you to win. We'll celebrate into a point, but as soon as you lose, you become like, oh, she got her doors blown off. He got his door. Like, it becomes that you are not. We no longer look at you as elite. Like Floyd Mayweather, as many as challenging as his fighters were, like the record that he amassed was still 50-0 or 51-0, whatever it became. But like, it was like people tuned in. Forget Floyd, Muhammad Ali. People wanted it. There was a whole generation of people, like an entire group, that waited to see his mouth get shut up.
Well,
and then after it did,
he sold the fight.
Right. But then after he passed away or he became ill and all of this, then it was like, oh, well, we really do love you.
Right.
But so the thing was,
context matters.
So Oppenheimer, I just went and saw it. Phenomenal movie, by the way. But at the end of the movie, there was a scene where Oppenheimer and Albert Einstein were having a conversation. And he was like, at the end of all of this, people are not going to celebrate you because you deserve it. They're celebrating you because of them. They have to clear their conscience and make it feel good that I was on board with you this entire time, even though they spend an entire portion ridiculing you and writing you off. But that's a weird, like, but the whole, but that's why I say, and that's why I guess how I came full circle and started off with the funeral, because that's what we do at the funeral. Is that's when we say, oh, I love this person. This person was everything. This person was great. Let's read all his credentials. You're not doing it for the person in the casket. You're doing it for you, so you can feel like you gave them a proper closure.
Nobody is there for the person in the casket. It's a party. No. It's for food and drinks and to see people you ain't seen in a minute. Nobody's there for the person in the casket, because if they were there for the person in the casket,
they would have been there in the hospital, or right? They were going through the cancer treatment, or
look, man, it's gonna be
whatever it was. Yeah,
I haven't lived in Cincinnati like for real. I lived there in 2010, 2011, right, for a year. But for the most part, I haven't lived in Cincinnati or even that region since the 90s, right? And when I go, it's gonna be a bunch of people who gonna be pretending that they sad.
Yeah.
Ain't seen me in decades. Ain't picked up a phone. Ain't typed a text. Nothing. Oh, damn, my dog.
Had they seen you on the street, they wouldn't even
recognize me if I walked right past them. Oh, damn, man. Y'all heard P? P gone. Man, you ain't even talked to P since Surf Cincinnati. Like, come on, bro.
You say splash dance in 93.
Man, like, stop it. Like, man, all the fake crying and all of the, you know, that's all a show, man.
Yeah. And I was gonna say, I think the thing too about flowers is, and it was interesting, kind of pre-production. There's a little inside window to the pre-production thing. One of the things that you mentioned, and I feel like it's very appropriate that we bring it up, and that is there has to be something said, again, going back to that self-image preoccupation thing. There has to be something said about the fact that we identify giving compliments, giving positivity as, what we say, Andre, being gay. Like, you soft, you're weak. To tell another man that I appreciate this, or you are valuable in this way, or that you really, like, anything positive is treated as though you're a sucker. You like I said, like, you're weak. It's always associated with something. The positivity can't be associated, unfortunately, the positivity can't be associated with something that is good and then also masculine. A lot of times we associate that all with like this feminine energy too often, especially when it comes to black men.
But even
what about women? Okay,
I was gonna say, even with the feminine energy, like, it's still like right now there's 2 tours going around in this country right now. Okay. And they're both received differently. Beyonce and Taylor Swift are both touring at the same exact time. And both of them killing it. Literally stadiums.
They just taking turns setting records.
But one of them is because of the Illuminati, and the other one's because she's a great songwriter.
And neither are true, by the way.
Well,
I'm just being honest.
Well, only one is a songwriter, though. I mean, that is true.
She's a good songwriter. I mean,
I'm saying I didn't say good. I said only one is a songwriter.
I'm only saying, here's what I wasn't even arguing.
I'm not saying good or bad. I'm not.
That's what I was getting ready to say.
I'm just saying only one of them writes their songs.
Interestingly enough, they had, what was it? Sometime back when they had it. What was it? She was in Cincinnati and like shut the whole city down.
You talking about Beyonce?
No, I'm talking. No, I'm talking about
2 weeks ago. Yeah, you're talking about 2 weeks ago.
She literally could not get like, you couldn't get within like a mile of Paycor Stadium. Like, she shut the whole city down. And here's the thing. Only thing I'm saying is, as great as she is an entertainer, I don't necessarily consider her to be a great songwriter. But that, going back to what Paul said, that's not even a matter of, oh, you hate. No, I'm not taking anything away from her. She's an amazing artist in that she just, she just ain't my thing.
Right.
And I don't think she's particular. I don't think she's like. I mean, you
But
start
she's a
talking to me
whole,
about
but she's a whole friggin' icon.
yes, and I think
She's a historical figure
and
that
to
you
say
can't tell the history of music without.
and I'm saying to say that she's not Johnny Cash or Eric Clapton
Right.
or
It's not an
Curtis
insult.
Mayfield or Prince. That's not
Barry
an
White
insult. Barry White
or R. Kelly or
run
Neo
okay.
or Teddy Riley
John Legend,
or
whoever.
Keith Sweat.
Okay. Just to say you're none of those people is not an insult. That's just a fact. Like you were
Or
saying
Lionel
about
Richie,
Joe Burrow.
Smokey
See, look at you.
Robinson.
See, he can't.
But
Once
even
you turn
then,
it
though,
on,
but like nobody's telling Taylor Swift she needs to retire.
right?
Well,
Like
she's young.
no, but I've seen the blogs where Beyonce needs to hang it up.
Yeah, she need to cut it out.
They both in the same age range. Like they not.
No, they not.
Beyonce's 42. Taylor Swift isn't 30 yet. The point is
She's older than 30. I'm about to look this up. Y'all go
Either
ahead.
way,
Taylor
And
Swift
here's
got
the
to
deal.
be maybe 30, 31.
That's what I'm saying. She's
Yeah,
not.
Beyonce's a good like 15, 20 years older than Taylor
No,
Swift.
Beyonce's only 42, if I'm not mistaken. The point I'm making is they occupy the same.
Okay.
They overlap. They don't. They overlap the same space. And the
Matthew
point is,
Knowles
one is
said
being
that
received.
Beyonce and Usher are the same age.
Okay,
That's
so
not possible.
Beyonce is 41. Taylor Swift is 33.
Okay, there we go. They're about
Complete
8
different
years,
generations in as far as
but
entertainment.
right now they're occupying or overlapping in the same space. The point is to Audrey's point,
Really?
they're being received very differently.
Yes,
They're being received extremely differently.
By who?
Even if we
so
by,
okay.
by that's my point is that black people have a way of wanting to discard people and throw them out when they've made so much and done so much, whereas nobody is saying anything about Taylor Swift except for, oh my gosh, I wish I could get tickets. I only have 15 grand. I'm gonna have to go see her when she's in Germany.
Nobody told the Rolling Stones to hang it up. Nobody told Aerosmith to hang it up. But we tell our musical artists that, hey, you had a good run.
No, the only people we tell to stop are rappers.
Why is
and
that?
Beyonce.
I haven't heard anybody tell Beyonce to stop. I've completely missed that.
Yeah, it's out there.
But why do we?
I must
but
not.
why do we?
But even if you go to rappers,
huh?
Let's stick with the rapper. Why do rappers need to stop? If you still put,
I'm not saying I agree.
I know. Brother, I'm not talking to you personally. We're talking about the larger scope, the people out there.
But y'all came on me, Lord. Tell me why. Y'all I felt attacked.
It was aggressive. My bad. You're right. It was a little aggressive.
Right.
It was Dill.
But seriously, like it's like our levels of success are, like you mentioned, due to the Illuminati, or we sold our soul, or we did these other things where the other people, it was hard work, it was determination, it was but the messaging, and you can go, I mean, again, not that social media is the greatest indicator of all these things, but the people making the videos typically look like us. Talking about, if you look at the triangle pyramid scheme that they got here, that's proof of the Illuminati and all. And it's just it's weird, man. Like
rap is different. What rap is different. It's weird for me with rap, right? So I find it odd that we listen to 15 to 20-year-olds for wisdom, and we got the 35, 50-year-olds. We don't want to hear nothing they got to say. Right? That's number one. That's weird to me. But I understand. I think when people say rappers need to hang it up or quit, it's because of the things that rappers do, what the term rapper represents. It represents womanizing, drugging, drinking, partying, killing, slanging drugs, all kind of reckless behavior that nobody with a family, you know what I'm saying, and children should be wrapped up in, right? So there's that stigma that comes along with it. You know, ain't nobody telling Killer Mike to quit. Ain't nobody telling Jay-Z to quit.
Even if
they definitely told Jay-Z that he needed to quit.
Who was
the Jay-Z, the Nas, the KRS-One, and I was gonna say,
thanks for reminding me.
Whether you put out, I agree, your material should change, and I think that was the brilliance of Jay-Z, is that his material changed as he grew. But even then, it's the younger generation who still says that old head need to retire. This
I,
person needs to
Well,
go.
honestly,
because the old head is trying to make music for the young head, and the old head need to make music for the old heads. That's the problem with rap music is we don't have any old rap music.
this
You
is true.
understand? Like
Yeah.
we just now starting to get to old rap music. Like Nas and Jay-Z are creating that type of thing for us at this
But
point
some
in the
of
game.
but I think some of that, to Andre's point, is because the ones who would have been from that generation, they were kind of canceled out over time.
We only letting a few through the door.
Yeah, there's only a handful of them who've gotten through from the 80s. Like, there's only a few of them that are still accepted because they got to sell records in order to actually be relevant. And, old people, ain't buying it. What I was going to suggest, though, even if we take it away from like sports or rapping and entertainment in that regard, I remember vividly when Oprah Winfrey was about to buy the OWN network, when she was going to start her own network. And originally it started out, everything was cool. And then within like a few months, it tanked. I'm talking like the value went down. And there were people like, yeah, she doing too much anyway. And that kind of energy, the same thing. I mean, how many times has Bill Cosby tried to buy a network?
I'm full disclosure. I don't have positive energy for Oprah.
Okay, but here's what I'm saying.
I was one of those people that was kind of happy.
Okay, but the question is for you. Okay, why? Like, what is it about her?
Because nothing about her platform has ever been supportive of Black men.
Okay.
Nothing.
But with that, are we still able to acknowledge that she's
a whole force in the entertainment
I can
world?
acknowledge that she is a mogul, she's a great she's an iconic figure and all those other things. I don't have to like her, and things can be true.
Right. Yeah, none of this has ever been about who
I'm not a Spike Lee fan for the same reason.
I was going to say, actually, I was going to tell you, I'm not a Tyler Perry fan.
Either one. Exactly.
But here's the thing though. I can't tell you the last Tyler Perry movie that I've watched. However,
on purpose.
Definitely not on purpose. But I'm saying
he might have caught me after something was on like VH1 and it was just kept rolling and I was in my phone or something.
I fell asleep and I hit the remote control and it ended up on TV One. But my point is, and that's the flowers. I can definitely get that man his flowers. Like I was just watching a documentary and it was he was talking about like that man is what 6'6" and was living out of his Geo Metro. Like he was grinding, doing his plays when nobody was catching on in Atlanta. Like you can get a man his flowers and still not. I ain't giving you no money to watch your stuff, and that's all I'm saying is that I think
what I've learned though is that when we have these ultra mega mogul Black folks, what I've learned is that they've often treated people of color worse than any white person ever did to get where they got.
Whoa, say that again. I want to make sure I heard that right.
We have these ultra mega super rich moguls.
Oprah Winfrey, Bill Cosby, Jay-Z, Tyler Perry,
run them off.
Bob Johnson.
Run them off.
Right. Yeah, okay. Keep going. Magic Johnson. Go ahead.
Run them off. Michael Jordan. Run them off. LeBron James. Run them off. All of them.
Okay, right.
What we find is that they've often treated people of color, their track record around the treatment of people of color is often worse than their white counterparts.
Yeah, I got no argument.
Yeah,
I got nothing. So is your position that once you cross that threshold and you get to that next layer of the atmosphere and you cross into the
I believe you have a responsibility to treat people of color with humanity. And oftentimes they treat them worse because they like, well, where you going to go? I'm the last thing you got.
I actually think from a causation correlation perspective, my personal thought is that on the way up to that level, I think it is, and I could be wrong, and certainly not in all cases, but I think in a lot of cases, I don't think it's as much I got there because I was willing to dump on black people as much as on my way up to that level, it
Mhm.
was white people who supported me in a way that black people didn't. And so I don't feel a particular loyalty to them because they weren't the ones who were actually helping me up. They were the ones who were hating on me and trying to keep me down. Now I'm only saying that obviously I'm not a mogul, but I
Okay.
can only share that from personal experience. I've
Okay.
act most of the breaks that I have gotten,
Uh-huh.
it has nothing to do with proximity to or a loyalty to black people. It has always been breaks. And again, it's not because I'm begging and looking for their
Well,
approval. It's generally come from white people. And I don't mean it from a
that
strictly
they're the people
financial.
who have all the
No, no,
ability
no.
to give the breaks.
I'm
So
talking, but
that's
here's what
just
I'll give
naturally what's gonna happen,
no,
bro.
let me give you
No,
an
but we
example.
talking
No, no,
about
no, no,
behind
no,
the
no,
door
no.
scenes.
What I'm
So
saying, yeah, what I'm saying is there are people who have been in positions to, and I'm talking, I'll just use ministry for example. There have been
Okay.
people who have been in positions to um help me out and further what I was doing in the ministry. The
Mhm.
black ones are always the ones who tore me down and had the most skepticism
Oh,
and had the
yeah.
most hate. The white ones were the
and you caught up.
ones, yeah, that's all I'm saying. And so what I'm saying is not, and I'm not speaking for myself
They're
personally
aspirational. They
because I haven't.
aspire to get to the point where those white
Okay,
folks are just so they can treat black folks the way they do. I've
but
had conversations with quote unquote rich black folk
mhm.
and have heard how they talk about black people.
But I'm saying I don't. What I'm only thing I'm saying is I'm certain, and I'll speak in one particular case because we were talking about Oprah Winfrey. I
Mhm.
know a little bit about her story because she's a graduate of Tennessee State. She grew up in Nashville, right? Um, I'm not, this is not an excuse because I wouldn't do the same things that she did in many different circumstances. However, there's a backstory to why it is she don't fool with some of us, is all I'm saying. There's a backstory. People got stories, people got reasons. And I'm saying I would never do this because this is not where my heart is. I would be completely and totally justified if I had that same attitude because honestly, I've gotten most of my daggers and most of my knives in my back from people who did black people who didn't want me to succeed. To be
Right?
honest with you, even though racism is real and prevalent, and I've had to overcome those hills as well, I'm only saying that without knowing the different stories, sometimes it is hard because let's face it, black people would make up reasons why it is that I don't deserve my flowers for certain things. White people gladly give them out if they want to because they don't feel any type of shame or they're not attached to it in some type of uh, self-absorbed, self-preoccupation type of way. That is something that I have found to be not exclusively, but kind of uniquely a black experience thing.
Yeah. Black people are in competition with each other innately.
Hmm.
I have to have a better car than you. I got to have a
Yeah.
prettier woman than you. I got to have a bigger chain than you, a better watch, better job, more money. I got to have
Mhm.
everything better than you.
Yep.
I'm not
I
even concerned with you, brother. I don't care what I got to have what I need and what I want. I don't even care what you want. I don't even care if you like what I have
fellow that
unless you
we
try to take it.
fellow that we all know of down in Atlanta, Creflo Dollar. Early on in his ministry, this we're talking about back in the days when he first getting on BET. We used to see him back in college, you know. People used to talk really bad about his wife, Taffy,
Mhm.
because sometimes they talk about her hair wasn't done right and she was dressing kind of funny and that kind of thing. They tore her down. You don't hear any of your white mega pastors, people who had those platforms, you don't hear anybody talking about their wives, anybody talking about how they mustache was off or their hair
Well,
wasn't right.
we've been
That is
trained
something.
to not like each other and to pick each other apart. We don't like each other. We've been taught that. It's the American way to not like niggas.
Well,
Like it ain't just white
so
folks that don't like niggas. It's Asian folks. It's Latino folks.
say like the
It's
old Chris Rock
Arab
joke.
folks. It's
We don't like
Indian
them
folks.
niggas
And
either.
guess who else is? Guess who don't like niggas the most? Black folks.
Absolutely.
We don't like each other. We've been taught that we ain't worth nothing but trouble.
Mm.
Well,
And
now
all I'm saying,
now we unpacking the flower conversation.
right?
Here
And
we
all
go.
and all I'm saying is that, unfortunately, that is the reason why. This is my personal belief. That's the reason why we can't get flowers, because you have to be willing to do the work to decompress and unfold that. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't have that. There are people in my family that are that way, where they
I know
can't
that.
say
You
a
know what?
positive word.
We were raised by people who felt that way.
That's
Where did we go
exactly
to
right.
school? Like, you ain't going over there with them.
Yeah.
You're gonna go over here. I know it's. Trust me,
Yep.
it's better over here than it is over there.
Yep.
It look fun over there, but ain't nothing happening over there. Trust me.
Yep.
That's literally what all three of our people.
Yeah.
That's why we went to the schools we went to. You don't need
That's
to be
exactly
around
right.
them folk.
Yep. And all I'm saying is that
For right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm not saying they were right. I'm saying that was the thinking behind it.
And all I'm saying is, if a person is legitimately successful, great, they've accomplished something, you have to be willing to step away from your upbringing, your culture, your education, all of those things, to say, there's got to be something wrong with me if I'm looking at something legitimately great and I'm giving it the wrong appraisal. If I can look at a Rolls Royce and not see the value, I am the problem. If I can see something that is legitimately great and successful and I can't call it what it is, then I have to recognize that there's something wrong with me, not the culture, not everybody else. Because as an individual, I refuse to allow my personal station in life to dictate whether or not I can identify whether or not Taylor Swift is awesome, or Beyonce is awesome, or LeBron, or Tom Brady, or Patrick Mahomes. The lengths that people go to tear people down, that is a you problem. And you have to see just how toxic that is. I can't live in that world. And I may not be in the best spot or where I want to be, but I find it troubling that people feel okay with the fact that you just made a horrible appraisal of another man or woman and what they've been able to accomplish, achieve, and grow into, to the point where you just can't give it an honest appraisal of what it is because of the toxicity in your life that you got to tear something down.
You mentioned last, before we wrap up, you mentioned Chris Rock, which got me to thinking, Dave Chappelle and Kevin Hart are both two comedians that literally started at the bottom. Kevin Hart was telling jokes in a male strip club, and made it to
in Atlantic City.
Yeah, made it to rock star status. Like, he is a whole rock star.
Yeah.
And once
he on the Philadelphia Mount Rushmore.
Yes,
him, Will Smith.
Yep. Right. Right. A couple other names. Yeah, they there.
So, but now it's like you see the things where like the memes where like, what comedian do you find not funny? And it's like, most of us, not us, but us, are like, Kevin Hart never been funny to me. And it's just like, okay,
that's your fault.
and that's where it's like, we as a culture get so angry at other people's success that we won't even allow ourselves to enjoy anything that person does.
We don't like anything that's not derogatory. I don't understand that about us.
Yeah.
It's literally got to do with him not being a derogatory comedian, if you ask me.
And you know what's funny about that, Paul? Truth, I almost equate, for me, Kevin Hart, I put him in the LL Cool J conversation, not in the set like he's the GOAT or on that Mount Rushmore. But the point is, Kevin Hart doesn't always do it for me, but I can recognize that man is funny. Chris Rock, same way.
Conversation.
Right. Chris Rock, I don't find him to be particularly funny in a lot of his movies, but my point is, I get why he's funny.
I get why
that makes sense. I get why it works. Like, there are people that I get why it works, even if it's not my brand. Why can't you acknowledge that?
I cut Andre off. My bad.
No, you good. But it's still like, for me, if nothing else, I still just appreciate the grind. Like, that's why I brought up the fact he started literally telling jokes in between
Yes.
sets of male strippers. Like,
Yes.
that's his start. And he's made it. There's no, regardless of how you feel about it, you cannot deny the fact that this man is a rock star.
Absolutely.
But like
Steve Harvey
multiple times over.
Allow us to celebrate that. Like, we need to celebrate the fact that the beginning to the end, but we can't get out of our own way and stop thinking about our own failures in order to celebrate somebody else.
You brought up Steve Harvey, Paul. Nobody can talk about Steve Harvey without talking about Marjorie and talking about his divorces and it's like,
he's not funny to me, not 1 second. But if I saw that man, I would shake his hand and be like, "Bruh, you
this
did
man,
that."
Listen, living in his car, selling carpet. His story is phenomenal.
Exactly, it's inspirational.
His story is phenomenal. And here's the thing: it's like he said, and I love it when he said it too. He said, "You whether you think I'm funny or not," he was. What did he say? He was like, "If you don't think I'm funny," he was like, "I really don't give a damn because you can't turn on the TV." And not see my face.
Right.
Commercial, Family Feud reruns, something.
He got residuals coming now.
He got a lot of residuals. and has failed multiple times. And that's the point, is that, like you said, Steve Harvey. Too. Yeah. He's killing. He's breaking
Nick Cannon.
Down. Oof. Yeah, now I ain't gonna lie, that's a hard one for me.
What, you don't like Nick?
Nah.
Why not? What's wrong with
Nick?
But
I get it.
What's wrong with Nick? Nick living his best life all over the place.
I get it.
I know why you don't like Nick. Because he ain't. Because Nick don't sleep in one house.
Nah, man.
He went there 15 minutes.
Listen.
He ride around with the sprinter. You know it's a sprinter too.
You know it is.
You need a sprinter.
Well,
a station wagon ain't holding that.
This man need a sprinter. He need a multiple passenger van.
He need an airport shuttle is what he needs.
Yeah, a sprinter. He need a nice juicy sprinter. Yeah.
We can upgrade the Mercedes version, but it's still gonna have at least 20 seats. It gotta have.
Yes.
But the fact that, and it's like you said, no, if you can anybody who will sit here and argue his success, argue his talent, even if it's just purely grinding and being in the right spot and taking advantage of his spot, his opportunity when it comes, because I don't find him to be particular. Like, he's not great at any one thing, but the man finds a way to get an opportunity.
He is great at finding ways to get on television.
That's all I'm saying. And that in and of itself is something.
The Black Ryan Seacrest.
There you go.
Hey, if you can't cry at Undercover Boss for somebody else getting blessed, then that's a problem with you. That's all I'm saying.
Bruh.
And that sound you just heard for the people listening on streaming platforms. One, we appreciate y'all, but wanted to give you a shout out that's our APB sound. So we are about to tell you who we're looking for in society or culture or whatever. So at this point, this is going to be this is on topic, on brand, but it's going to be unexpected. We're talking about giving flowers. I am going to beat this drum until I die, that a person who deserved their flowers from us as a culture, Black culture, is Darius Rucker.
Yes, sir. Yes,
I don't know why he has not gotten NAACP awards, Soul Train awards, any other, because he doesn't fit the mold that we want him to be in our box. Like, we love you on our terms.
Shout out to Cowboy Troy too.
Absolutely. But Darius Rucker is easily at the top of country music, like a must-see person, must-see artist. He gives back to the Black
20 years, right?
Holding it down. And for those who may not, he was Hootie from Hootie and the Blowfish.
Right.
Like, this man is a whole musical icon, and we refuse to celebrate him. And I again, every chance I get, I am going to champion the fact that he needs to get his flowers.
Yes,
and
sir.
I'll fight anybody who disagrees.
You
That's
know
all I
what?
got. So y'all go
I'm
ahead.
jumping them with you.
No. Look here. No, I'm right on that bandwagon. Here's the thing. There is no most underrated list that he doesn't belong on the top somewhere. Number one. Number two, and I'll take a stab at this, and this may be controversial. I really don't care. To the culture, and I'm talking about the black culture. Darius Rucker is what we want Tiger Woods to be. Darius Rucker is what we really have been clamoring for Tiger Woods to be, and Tiger Woods is not, never
Tiger
was.
Woods go.
Well, I'm not,
and I don't mean that like take his black
I know what
card
you mean.
and just let him be great and just let him live his life.
Right.
That's not what he wants to do. The same way we let Michael Jordan live.
Yes.
Let's let Tiger Woods live.
And to that point, I'm saying that some of the greatness that some of the things we herald and we kind of glom on and give people all their flowers. I think Andre raised a really good point, because just because Darius Rucker does country music and he came up with, like, we know him from Hootie and the Blowfish, like, why can't we see that as black excellence? Like, why can't we embrace that as black excellence? And that's kind of the point.
Too stupid to understand that country music is black music.
Is black music. That's exactly right. Literally, there is no R&B. There is, frankly, no gospel.
No blues. There's nothing.
Blues, none of that.
All of it.
All of it
from
is
us.
Mississippi Delta,
rock,
bluegrass, country,
all of that
come
from us.
But no, that's that. I'm gonna be honest. I did not see that one coming. That's a great surprise.
That was a great one.
That's
probably the best APB.
Yeah. That's one of the best ones we've had, because let me tell you something, man. Shout out to. In fact, I'm on a new mission now. We got to get Darius Rucker on the show. We have to get Darius Rucker.
If you can pull that off, we going to the top, bro.
Man, listen. Ain't no if. It's when.
Okay.
It's when, because seriously,
can we do it at like NASCAR or something? Can we do it at like Talladega?
No, we going to Andre's house. He right there in Nashville.
Okay,
we ain't got nowhere to go. He probably right around the block.
He performed at the Ryman all the time. We got to
say, yeah. We got to pull that off, man.
We got to pull that off.
One. That's a great one. I love it. Shout out to Darius Rucker and all of his great work, man. That's a great one. All right. All right. Well, that's a wrap. We want to thank you once again for joining us here on The Gray Matters. Each week, we try to bring you the best. And so we are grateful for each and every one of our followers and subscribers. We ask you to continue to circulate the information out there. Tell people about us. Keep listening. If you have any questions, comments, have any suggestions or ideas that you want to offer up, please leave us some comments, send us a message. We love to get feedback on how we can always do a better job each and every week. So with that, we want to say thank you once again. We look forward to seeing you again next week. Again, follow us, subscribe, leave us comments. We look forward to hearing from you and seeing you back here once again next week. Be blessed.
Peace.
So a preacher, a stay-at-home dad, and a rapper walk into a bar.
I am my ancestors back from the grave, no longer a slave, beat to the gods, kneel, pray, surviving my day. A threat to society, cause Malcolm showed me the way. I'm young, black, intelligent.
Oh, now they afraid.
It's too late, I am the king, I am the spark to the brain. I am the light that fought the dark and now you're seeing the rain. I am the thing they spent their whole life killing. To find out, I am the rose that grew from under their building. This ain't for life, this is a fight so you can open your mind. Peel the scab back, reveal the blood and see what we'll find. I promise. Like LeBron, I am just one of a kind. No longer will I accept the blind, leading the blind. Keep it a buck, say what I want, not giving a screaming afterward like Park until the day my heart stops. And when I do, remember when I take my last breath, just remind the tape and witness all the knowledge I left. The grave. So I said, a preacher, a stay-at-home dad, and a rapper walk into a bar.
The Gray Matters.